State of the Union, most of the Republicans running against former President Trump defended him after his indictment this week, but only one has gone as far as my next guest. Here with me now is Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Thank you so much for joining me. So before you heard any details of the allegations in the Trump indictment, you put out a statement saying if you become president, you would pardon Donald Trump on day one. Now you've seen the allegations and you've seen that he stored highly classified information like nuclear secrets and others in unsecured areas of his country club. Given everything that you've seen, do you stand by your promise to pardon him if he's convicted?
Reading that indictment and looking at the selective omissions of both fact and law, Dana, I'm even more convinced that a pardon is the right answer here.
Why?
The top question actually we should be asking is, what did Biden tell Merrick Garland? What did Merrick Garland tell Jack Smith? Because what I see in that document is deeply politicized. Not a single mention of the Presidential Records Act, the most relevant statute to the actual alleged crime here. Selective statements from President Trump's statements on the campaign trail in 2016 about classification and how he'd treat it, without one mention of the fact that he actually, after he was elected in 2016, said he would not prosecute Hillary Clinton and would not want to see her prosecuted. And by the way, no one's mentioned this yet. This was what stood out to me. The classification scheme itself was defined not by statute, but by executive order, which is interesting because executive orders, appellate courts have held, do not bind a U.S. president with the force of law. So this is selective prosecution. I think it's irresponsible not to have included any treatment of those facts or law in this indictment. It reeks of politicization, which is why I want to go back to the top question that the media actually should be asking. What did Biden tell Garland? What did Garland tell Jack Smith? That's what you need to be getting to the bottom of.
The White House insists that he has absolutely no connection to this, that the whole reason the special counsel was put in place is to take it out of politics. But I want to read something. I want to read something that Bill Barr, President Trump's own attorney general, said just this morning on another network. He said, quote, if even half of it is true, speaking of the indictment, then he's toast. It is a very detailed indictment and it's very, very damning. This is the former president's own former attorney general.
I think we have to be able to draw a distinction between bad judgments. I would not have made the judgments that President Trump made. It's a big part of why I'm in this race, is I think that I would have made different judgments than Trump made.
What would you have done differently?
Well, I would not have taken those documents with me, and I would have returned them on demand, because that would have actually set up for a much more constructive discussion.
Folks, do us a favor and hit that free like and that free subscribe button. So there you had it. Dana got bashed by Vivek Ramaswamy. Who's Vivek Ramaswamy? He is running for the Republican ticket on 2024. I know a lot of people have been giving a lot of attention to Trump and Biden. As you could hear from the interview on CNN when Dana Bash asked about how Vivek Ramaswamy could be defending Trump, Vivek gave Dana the answer that she was probably not looking for. It's all politically motivated. Why can't we accept that this is politically motivated and that any indictment against Trump is an indictment against other people who want President Trump to run? I mean, the government does not like outsiders, and Vivek Ramaswamy is an outsider, and he is anti-woke, and that's the problem right now we're facing. The woke culture has way too much power, and it is creating a big and awful inflation, and we're pushing the woke agenda on children, and that's why I like what Vivek Ramaswamy was telling Dana Bash, and you've got to see that again. Just go ahead and replay it again. He's saying, you know, the woke culture is a joke. It's an obsession that we don't need. We need to be more productive. But I don't think CNN and Dana Bash was expecting this from now. Vivek Ramaswamy probably will be a front runner. Thank you, CNN. Thank you, Dana Bash, for doing that. I am telling you, you have just shown an upcoming Republican. So thank you so much for doing that. And speak of that, let us go and see what Jordon Peterson has to say about totalism and fashionism. And let's talk about truth. What does truth have to do with numbers? Well, whoever created truth created numbers. So let's hear what Mr. Peterson has to say, and we'll go ahead and dissect that. Folks, go ahead and do me a favor, hit that free like and that free subscribe button. I'm Tisha Paul. We'll be back right after Mr. Peterson talks.
but no one believes it. And it is a matter of belief. So if you're a dissident, you say what you think. And you think, and I think, I could either have a false reality on my side, or I could have the closest approximation to the truth that I can manage. Yeah, I'll pick the latter, thank you very much. And if that means I have to stand up against my idiot governments, I'm way more afraid of the lie than I am of Trudeau.
But just looking throughout history at some of those dissidents in the Soviet Union, for example, and one of those people that you very much promote and have made far more well known, I think, among many younger people is Solzhenitsyn and his famous book, The Gulag Archipelago, and everything else. Why do you think so few people in the West know about these dissidents in the Soviet Union?
Well, because our education system in the West has been gripped by the delusion since the Second World War that authoritarianism was purely a right-wing phenomenon, which is, of course, to call that delusional. There was Stalin, there was Lenin, there was Mao, there was Pol Pot. I mean, how many goddamn examples do you need? So obviously there's left-wing authoritarianism, but the game on the left is that, well, that doesn't really exist, or that was a misapplication of a perfectly functional theory. I asked a friend of mine, a Jewish guy, why so many Jewish people in the Soviet Union were attracted to communism. And he said, because it offered the possibility of universal brotherhood. And that's the difference between, say, fascism in its more explicit forms and communism, is that communism at least says we could all be brothers, right? And that's an attractive doctrine. And I suppose at the time of the Russian Revolution, it wasn't self-evident that that idea was doomed to failure. Now, it's bloody well self-evident now, if evidence means anything at all to you. But there's that attraction in the communist doctrine of equality, which is sort of what we want in our families, and then universal brotherhood, which is a paradisal dream, I suppose. Of course, in the bowels of the communist conceptual structure are policies that are absolutely 100% murderously counterproductive. But they sound good too, like from each according to his ability.
I'm Tisha Bell. Thanks so much for watching. Folks, do me a favor and hit that free like and that free subscribe button. Therefore, you can get the latest breaking money news from the United States. So you just saw the Telegraph segment, a portion of the segment with Mr. Jordon Peterson, who is a Canadian college professor. And yes, I am an American former business law professor. And Mr. Peterson is very conservative. He believes in one truth. So, you're either conservative or you are secular. And he is trying to show us how the government can distort the truth with socialism and fascism. And the difference, there's not too much difference between socialism and communism. So you got to see. I know people love AOC in this country. I know people love Nancy Pelosi. I know people are welcoming socialism in the United States. This is why numbers are infinite, because the creator is infinite. And that's what mathematicians are beginning to see, is that the perfection of numbers came from nature, came from one God, came from a creator. Folks, go ahead and hit that free like and that free subscribe button. That way you will get the latest business and money news from New York, USA. Take care.